Coming through though, we do see an AD carry ban in there. Cogmore taken away. Sure, Celaver would have gone towards that one myself. I think Corki is more his style these days, but we'll see. Fizz and Kassadin also taken away. Kassadin banned on the blue side. Take note of that one. Orianna and Twisted Fate being taken away by Roccat. Final ban to come through. Will we see maybe even a focus on Ziggs or Ahri?
Yeah, so all of the jungle picks are still up, as you've also highlighted. Ziggs, Ahri, Xerath is still in the mix. And while Celaver is not an AD carry would traditionally say Cogmore, he did run it yesterday, which is arguably part of the reason they're taking that one off the table. This was something Freddie was saying in the picks and bans, how they can't decide on what they want to lock, and finding something comfortable for Candy Panda, that is a very, very high priority pick here for SK Gaming, and they've given away what Xaxus considers the #1 top laner in Gragas, and they've given Jankos a super comfort pick in Elise.
Yeah. I'm not sure Tristana, you know, like literally you would look at Celaver's history and say, would he pick this one? No, he wouldn't.
Yep.
Why would you first pick it? I'm confused by that one from SK Gaming. Nevertheless, we do see, of course, as you mentioned, Gragas leads in. Braum did sneak through as well. That's been locked in for nRated. So it's going to be a Braum Tristana lane and a Nidalee. That's going to be for Freddy, I believe, in the top lane. We saw him playing it last week.
Braum Tristana becomes a super kill lane once they get their ultimates. There's so much damage on them, and the range from Tristana gets very difficult to deal with in the 2v2s. You've also got great protection from Braum's ultimate when it comes to team fights, and I actually liked how Freddy handled Nidalee last week when he played her. Pretty sure it was last week. Strong showing, and was very mobile, was able to kite. It was against Millennium, and he caused difficulties for Millennium, but because Millennium had so much hard engage, it allowed them to deal with him very, very effectively. But I want to highlight just how quickly SK have locked their champions in. We talked about, or Freddie talked about maybe some dissent in terms of picks and bans, but this is a very rapid-fire pick ban phase for SK Gaming.
It's funny, you know, because the players come out of those question sessions where they're obviously recorded, they're giving their answers, and clearly it brings a lot of things to light for them. Because obviously we heard Freddie talking about the pick and ban phase. Suddenly they've probably come out of that and said, guys, we actually do have a problem in our pick and ban phase. Maybe they've discussed it, maybe they've sorted it out. They were all very decisive. As you say, every champion locked in very quickly this time around from SK Gaming.
Yeah, and I like the fact that SK have got a fairly strong siege team put together. If Tristana can get the backup of Braum and Elise and have Nidalee and Ziggs laying for wave clear and poke, they can push Roccat to their towers and force them to deal with a lot of range damage. If, however, Freddy's going to build a bruiser Nidalee, which is what we're expecting, they can also split push fairly effectively. That explosive shot from Tristana is quite effective at clearing waves. If Ziggs can put some damage down and you just get that splash AoE clearing the towers out. SK do not want to get jumped on. Ooh. With a Nidalee, with a Ziggs, they're not looking to be engaged upon, and that's where the defensive support of Braum comes in.
Oh, switch around here for Roccat. That means it's going to be irelia in the top lane and Gragas in the mid lane for Overpow. So it's going to be Nidalee versus irelia, and correct me if I'm wrong, but irelia pretty much dumpsters that lane.
Should be able to, without jungle interference. If Svenskeren decides to camp that top lane, can help Freddy out. But one of the things is, this is of course reworked Nidalee. Yeah, so
it is a different Nidalee.
Old Nidalee, yes. New Nidalee, we need to see. We need to actually see how the LCS pros handle it. I also think, if memory serves, once rework Gragas was enabled, Overpow was the first one to run an AP in the mid lane as well, about 3 weeks ago, if memory serves. And it worked fairly effectively. He built some damage up. He did quite a good job. There's going to be wave clear from Overpow and Gragas, but they definitely don't want to be put into a split push situation unless Xaxus is ahead. So we need to see which top laner can become more impactful. They're going to create thorns in their opponent's sides.
Well, interesting pick and ban phase for both teams. Have these 10 champions that have now changed your mind about who you think will win this one. Tweet at LOL Esports. Use the hashtag SKWin or hashtag ROCWin for, of course, SK or Roccat. And we'll be checking those results in just a minute. Interesting way around this time around. Of course, big game for both teams. Honestly, SK Gaming, they on a 5-game losing streak, so absolutely want to pick up a win here. Roccat themselves have actually not been too bad lately. They did have a rough last week, of course, but they came up against Alliance and Fnatic, so you can't discredit them too much. What do we think coming into this one? Who's really got the mental edge, more importantly?
I would say Roccat. I think because Roccat picked up a win yesterday and a fairly controlled win, you have to feel that they'll have the mental edge. But in terms of champion composition, I think they may have a slightly higher mid-game power spike. So let's see if they can actually make use of that in-game.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Game 2 of the day underway. as SK Gaming start out as the blue team up against the Roccat as the red team. Interesting choices in the pick and ban. Tristana first pick. Let's see if that's all important for Candy Panda. Of course, it does cast all the way back to Season 1 power spikes for Tristana, and that's where Candy Panda excelled, honestly, way back in Game.D. It was the name, I believe. nRated, of course. These players have got a lot of history. Played all 4 seasons of the LCS. And they use that experience to get SK out of the rut that they are currently in.
Something that Jat says, which I absolutely love, is when you look at picks and bans and you look at first pick champions, that champion has to be instrumental for your team, especially when you give up very powerful champions, in the form of both Gragas and Lucian. Now it's Gragas mid, not Gragas top, which is what we're expecting. But this is the counterbalance we need to keep an eye of. Can SK Gaming contain and control Jankos and Overpow? Because that is what they gave up at the cost of Candy Panda. And you mentioned the fact that irelia might have a pretty good time against this Nidalee in the top lane. So where does Svenskeren focus his attention? Helping Freddy get to that monstrous bruiser split push Nidalee stage? Or does he want to try and help Candy Panda get to the mid to late game as quickly as possible? Tristana does fairly well early, falls off a little in the mid game, and then spikes again late. Whereas Celaver and Corki will have a much more powerful mid game and will fall off a little late in contrast to Tristana. So it's those different playstyles and the decisions that SK have to make depending on how these next few minutes of gameplay plays out.
So here we go, let's see. No invades, no aggression, no early anything from either team, so playing it very cautiously. Standard lanes also setting out, of course, we had lane switches in the previous matchup, nothing coming down in this one. Let's see who feels more confident. Candy Panda taking some quick burst damage, quickly turns around. Was that an explosive shot? It wasn't. Nice it was. I can see the little X's above Celaver's head now. So, standard starts from both of these players. And it's really all about who's going to hit level 2 first. You can see nRated waiting off to the side. He really wanted to be aggressive there, but was cautiously optimistic about pulling the trigger early. Yeah,
needs to get that next minion wave before they can hit that secondary level, but Candy Panda using that explosive shot almost on cooldown, really, to just try to get some poke and some control of the lane. So this is the matchups that I feel is the most interesting, the top and the bottom lane. And we need to keep an eye on how Xaxus is going to handle himself against that Nidalee. There's the level 2, just a tiny bit behind for Celaver and VandeR. And as we're getting closer to the 3.5-4 minute mark, I want to highlight that Roccat currently leads the league in both Europe and North America for securing first bloods. 18 out of their 23 games played, Roccat have secured the first kill of the game, and 10 of those 18 have actually gone to Jankos. So let's see, once Jankos gets those double buffs up, if he can do it again, because they didn't yesterday. It was Gambit that secured the kill.
Well, speaking of first bloods, Overpow taken very low there. Does manage to level up though, chugging that health pot as well, but continues to take some burst pressure from Jesiz. So Jesiz starting out very strong in this mid lane. Slightest of CS advantages, but the pressure is being applied.
To be fair, it is somewhat expected. Ziggs having the ranged auto attacks and the passive magic damage bonus every couple of spells will make Overpow's life a little more difficult. But once Overpow gets some more levels, he should theoretically be able to shove that wave out and maybe counterbalance some of the poke that Jesiz is putting down on him. But he's keeping up fairly close.
Good counter jungling coming out from Svenskeren here. Already come in, taking away the large wraith, and now look at him. Laying, waiting in prey. He's going to get a catch on towards Jankos. Does manage to get a lot of damage down towards him. Has to safeguard away. Repels. Svenskeren fancies this one. Follows through. Does not catch on towards him. Jankos, though, has to flash away.
So just as we talked about with Jankos, he's been the one that secured most first bloods. He gets picked on by Svenskeren. And what I love to see from Sven is this invade that he's moved up. There is some deep vision. Now Sven is looking for a dive on Xaxus.
Straight up on towards Xaxus. Casually walks up. He's going to go down to the tower. It's going to be a trade. And that is a good trade for Xaxus because Svenskeren should have got away, but he got stun-locked on the tower.
Yes, and the flash as well. So not only did Xaxus get the kill, take away the double bust from Svenskeren, but burned his summoner spell as well. So if Roccat managed to find him in an uncomfortable position, they can punish him later on. Yesterday, I touched a lot on SK Gaming's warding. They are the worst team in the league at buying wards and at placing them, as well as destroying them. And Svenskeren in particular is the lowest jungler in the European LCS in terms of vision. So before he gave up that kill, it was nice to see the invade, the pressure on Jankos, and actually placing vision down to allow him to make more informed, smarter decisions going forward.
Of course, it did also mean Roccat got first blood once again. So, Jankos just dodging around Jesiz, continuing to put that pressure down. Lack of mana from Overpow will send him back to base. Svenskeren immediately on the counter-attack there, and he actually finds himself. Panda pulling towards the tower range, and nRated has to get away there. That was a jumping, flying Panda. He went a long way with that rocket jump.
Yeah, managed to get away, but nRated forced to use Flash and Exhaust. So Summoner Spell advantage definitely in favor of Roccat, but mana pools are lower on the side of Roccat. So the likelihood of really getting somebody down is a little more difficult. VandeR, if he can catch nRated out, that might be their way to secure another kill. Look at Jankos. Potentially coming in around behind SK Gaming. If they stick around much longer, Jankos is going to be able to get in there. I didn't see if he still had his buffs available. No red buff on him.
No vision, though.
So this look for VandeR. VandeR can go VandeR life and land the death sentence. Maybe another kill here for Roccat. The question is, how quickly does Jankos go? He's moving in now.
VandeR moves around. There's the rocket jump already used, and nRated may will be a focus. Expecting Jankos to come around the side there. He will try and put the damage down on it, but I think he's got away. The ignite goes down. I don't think he's got enough.
No,
I think nRated's safe.
That was a flash ignite from VandeR, and it didn't secure the kill. Summoner heal used from Panda. And the reason they focused him was no flash. No flash meant limited escape. Roccat made a good attempt, but unfortunately did not actually close the deal out. So nRated gets away with his life, and Celaver and VandeR a small respite in that lane.
Does mean Panda had to go back early, though. Earlier than he intended. Has come back with a pickaxe instead. Celaver now backing off. Of course, he's going to be looking towards, building towards Trinity Force. At the moment, of course, Jesiz putting the pressure back on that mid lane. Will continue to poke it down there. He wants to really put pressure into Overpow, but Overpow now, now that those barrels are starting to get strong, he is going the ability power route, of course, as you'd expect with a mid lane. Gragas.
Well, let's see if Jankos is in trouble. Still no flash. Sven's caught him. That's a whole lot of damage on Jankos.
Well, Jankos caught out again, as you mentioned, putting a lot of damage down. But the red buff is the focus target. And I think this is going to be a smite fight, and it's a smite fight that SK may not want here because three members are closing rounds. Svenskeren gets it, Overpow blows Freddy straight in towards Xaxus, gets the slowdown on towards him, but Jankos is slow to get involved in this one. Will they follow through towards him? Four members of Roccat, and they let SK walk away with the red.
Yeah, managed to get away. Roccat were unable to stick to a target long enough. And SK Gaming get the red buff and they get out cleanly. In the previous game, we've seen Super Hard Crew focusing down Gambit's Lee Sin jungle, and they shut it down very heavily. SK Gaming this time around are now jumping onto Jankos and putting a lot of investment and a lot of time into that top lane.
So, good start from both teams. An actually aggressive start from, honestly, both teams. Both looking for kills, looking to try and make some plays this time around. This bottom lane, as you can see, very even. Sheen was picked up by Celaver, though, when he first backed, so we'll see how he sticks around. Blue buff will be gifted across to Overpow here. Oh! Mega Inferno Bomb almost stealing away.
That was very close. That was very close indeed. And one thing I do want to highlight is how the CS advantage is in favor of Xaxus, in favor of Freddy for the time being. Xaxus is alone in the lane, so he's going to close that gap up, but he's falling behind Freddy. You can't even argue that the first blood was impactful in that because he teleported back to lane near instantly. He lost very little CS, but nevertheless, Freddy doing a good job, and last week his Nidalee was very strong. So SK Gaming have focused their attentions in the jungle and trying to make Jankos' life a little more difficult.
Freddy taking some damage here, some punishment, honestly, from Xaxus. He won't be enough to kill him, but it may be enough to bully him out of the lane. Freddy, of course, has only just returned to that lane, so he's going to chug him way through those potions and heal himself up.
The thing is, Xaxus burned his ultimate and 2/3 of his mana pool. So if he wants to do that again, he's going to need to regen all of that mana and obviously wait for his ultimate cooldown to come back available. Freddy can just heal himself back up over time, and as long as Freddy maintains control of his mana, it should be fine. So this could turn into a little more of a farm fest lane. And look at the Sven again, for the third time, invading into Rockat's jungle. He doesn't have a ward available with him this time around. Nor does he even have a big golem to get hold of.
Oh, he's just toying with our cameraman there, Svenskeren. So I'm going to go in. No, I'm not. There's no big golem. What's the way? Why waste my time? This time around, though, they fancy a second bite of the cherry on Xaxus. They got him last time for first blood. They're not going to get him this time because he's running the hell away.
So look at that. While Svenskeren's moved to the top lane to help secure that tower, Jankos rather, is moving himself to the bottom lane. Panda and nRated have been pushed into their tower. And with Celaver having Sheen, we haven't actually seen those lanes really going toe-to-toe. You know, Candy, Panda, and nRated playing a little more passively, but Jankos still moving in behind. So complete control of the top half of the map for SK. They're invading the jungle, and they're looking to apply some focus to Overpow, but it's optimistic at best for the time being.
So currently 10 minutes into this game, CS differential is very much in favor of SK. That's why the gold difference is. You can see the 2,000 gold pushed towards them. Of course, that top turret did go down, which Freddy caused, and that's simply why he's beating out that lane of Xaxus on irelia. But the question is, when the team fights come around, who is going to be the more important?
I don't think SK want to have a straight-up team fight. With the Nidalee, who's going to be looking to split push and be very mobile and agile in team fights, and obviously Ziggs in the same token, if they get jumped on and separated, you know, jumped on by irelia and Lee and separated by Gragas, the power of SK is in their range. Tristana is going to continue to scale, get a longer and longer auto attack as she hits more levels. So SK always want to keep Roccat at arm's reach. Think of it like a really tall guy fighting a really short guy, putting his hand on his forehead and not letting his swings hit him. That's what SK will be looking for this whole fight, and we'll see if they can pull that off.
Oh, Svenskeren trying to get around quickly, but hasn't got the boots, hasn't got the mobility to get in there quick enough. Instead, he's going to roam his way back up that river. Should spot that pink ward out. Yes, he does. Good look at it this time around. Often we do see them just strolling on past, but he will cover off that. So let's have a look across the items. The thing's obviously being picked up by both mid laners. Looks like Trinity Force is actually going to get picked up by both top laners as well. So mirror items for different champions.
Yeah, but the thing is, SK, because they're ahead in CS and slightly ahead in terms of actual completed builds, they're going to be in a fairly strong position to start dictating some moves. They did not do this against Super Hot Crew yesterday because they were marginally behind. So SK were reacting to the Super Hot Crew's moves. I would like to see SK Gaming either making plays in and around the Dragon, forcing Roccat to maybe defend objectives or defend their towers. And Jesiz is doing a fairly good job at controlling Overpow. So if he can convert that control to sieging and to putting damage around buffs or dragons, for example, that's how SK can accelerate their lead and pull even further into control.
Well, we saw Svenskeren going aggressive early. He's doing it once again. Keeps on skittering his way in towards Jankos jungle. Jankos sees him coming this time around, though, expecting him to come around the side, but he's got support. Both of them do, actually. Oh, Jez has actually thrown out the satchel charge already. He hasn't got that one available to him. Overpower just sidestepping those skill shots. Will
pretty good job,
dodge out of there. Yeah, very good job at dodging them all.
So Jesiz had little mana in that trade, so Jesiz couldn't go for an all-in combat. On the same token, Overpower was able to avoid a lot of the damage. So 3v3, Jez is low in his mana pool, so let's see if SK decide to stick around. I feel that's going to be risky, especially that Xaxus has got a good position for the time being.
Too much damage on Svenskeren, has to back away from this one. Overpower doing a good job at sidestepping skill shots. This time around, though, we do see Freddy pouncing on him and clawing away, but this red buff will finally get taken away. It's going to be Jankos that will secure that with the smite. Does mean he's down, though, and SK may make a move for Dragon here now that Smite is no longer on the cards.
Yeah, and because of the fact that Xaxus and Jankos are sort of missing in the top half of the map, if Candy, Panda, and nRated respond quickly, they can have a tighter team fight here for this initiation. Xaxus has teleport, and Roccat, they're using it. Here comes Xaxus from the river.
This is a risky play for Roccat. No Smite available to try and get the steal. Instead, they just simply want to stop it. VandeR has to flash away. Dragon does get secured by SK, and now Jankos, he's in trouble. He has to get away. Xaxus locked up. He's going very low. He will be the first to drop, and now they're going to close in towards it. Satchel charge actually blows Jankos away from him, so it's the kill and the Dragon secured easily for SK.
SK Gaming can keep Roccat at bay. That's what we talked about in terms of their team comp. As long as SK does not get collapsed on by the members of Roccat, they can control the game. Freddy was caught out by VandeR's death sentence, and as VandeR followed it through with the secondary active, Freddy just leaped back into the middle of his team, pulled Thresh all the way back, and Roccat would just split up. They were so split in the river, SK could pick their targets, and they got the Dragon clean.
Overpow going to keep on chunking down those wraiths. Jesiz continues to stack out those items. Source boots now completed. So slight item ahead of Overpow, yet to go back and buy, of course. Infinity Edge completed by Candy Panda. That's a big power spike for the AD carry. Trinity Force is also picked up by Freddy. You can see both Xaxus and Celaver working towards that one. Overpower being controlled nicely by Jesiz in this mid lane. Satchel charge bouncing him away, and Overpower at the moment is fairly helpless against Jeziz's Ziggs.
Yeah, it's a difficult matchup, but it's also Overpow is looking for the wave clear. He's also looking to control team fights a little more frequently, bouncing people away. And that previous fight, Roccat were just not in the right position to contest. I think they reacted a little too late to the call, and for SK Gaming, it was very smart. We talked about how if SK wants to win this game, they need to be more proactive. They need to be more in charge of their decision-making. And knowing Jankos didn't have Smite was a smart call to force the team fight, and they got away with it. And SK going to extend even further ahead because they're going to get the second tower. Roccat are 5,000 gold down right now.
Oh, VandeR taking some serious punishment here. Everything being blocked out by nRated. This bottom lane pairing that was called out by Roccat in the opening segment is very much living up to their hype right now. It's a 4,500 gold lead built up by SK Game, which is slowly starting to spiral. Well, it's now 5,500 gold lead because they did just take that second objective. Oh, Jesiz, he's in trouble. Oh, good satchel charge into a belly slam straight away. But again, he's home free. They're so worried about Freddy coming in the side.
Yeah, there was no explosive cast from Overpow, so he's forced to back away. SK Gaming have done such a good job in the laning phase. They've got CS advantages for every single one of their carries, which is translated to a significant item advantage at this point. Celaver hasn't even finished his Trinity Force, nor is Xaxus. And you've got an Infinity Edge in Candy Panda and a Trinity Force on Freddy. So that gold lead continues to grow, and Roccat have just been controlled. They've been you know, pushed around, and SK are looking much stronger this match than they did yesterday.
Yeah, they've clearly done something overnight that's worked out for them. They're looking a little bit more confident in this matchup. It's a match they absolutely need to win. Roccat, of course, tied with them in 5th place currently. This would put SK secure in the playoffs. It's a position they held the #1 seed in last spring. Of course, they lost out to Fnatic in the final in the end, but nevertheless, they put in a fantastic performance, and more importantly, it ends that 5-game loss streak. But it's a long way to go, ladies and gentlemen. 6,000 gold is the differential between these two teams, just 17.5 minutes in.
The thing is, Roccat are a team that struggle from time to time, you know?
They're the team that struggles when they're not in the lead,
yeah.
That's for sure. nRated, just blocking out, no damage really going down on towards him. That death sentence was not followed up. And SK, they're starting to exert their control. They've been pretty much running rings around this top half of the jungle for the last sort of 10 minutes of this game.
It's actually very reminiscent of what the Super Hot Crew did. If you think of the previous game, Jankos, he wants to fight.
Do not want, tries to get away, gets stunned out, Freddy pounces through, gets himself the kill. VandeR now locked in there. He's going to get stunned out. One more basic attack will be enough. There it is, Freddy gets on towards it. He gets himself the double. These two see the bomb pouncing through. Xaxus forced away from this one. And as we just mentioned, SK, they have full control of Roccat's jungle.
They really do. Candy Panda going very defensive there. Trinity Force versus iEdge. He's actually used that Buster Shot already. Now the rest of SK, they're pushing the top lane. Look at all of the wards on the mini-map. Ladies and gentlemen, from yesterday to today, SK Gaming have figured out and remembered that if you buy wards, use them correctly, you can control the game. With the massive gold lead that they've afforded themselves, they've got absolute vision control, and they can continue playing aggressively. That's another tower secured, and Jesiz may even be able to take the 5th of the game for SK.
Yeah, he's just very close to taking it. The rest of his team are rotating around. They're just taking the red buff right now. Doesn't look like they're going to get it this time around, but a lot of damage was done to it. Bottom turret is also being pressured. Candy Panda sticking around maybe a little bit too long here. VandeR throws out the lantern. Jankos follows it through, but he's home free. Rocket Jump will be back available. He's got flash and heal if he needs it.
Moby Boots as well.
Well, I don't think he's going to get close enough. I think Candy Panda is clean, yeah.
So, good wave. You know, good split pushing there from Candy Panda. Shoving out the side lane while the rest of the team gets a tower in the top and drops the middle tower to around 200 odd hit points. And SK have now got a 9,000 gold lead. 8,000 gold. A lot of gold lead.
Maths is hard.
I don't know why I keep doing it. I haven't learned. But at 20 minutes in the game, Roccat have completely been controlled. And, you know, yesterday when we looked at Roccat playing against Gambit, maybe it wasn't necessarily... that was
nearly.
Maybe it wasn't necessarily playing safe and controlled. Maybe Roccat were just very slow and indecisive, and it was a weaker opponent being Gambit being bullied. Because SK are looking much stronger, and they pushed Super Hot Crew yesterday, don't forget.
Oh, Jankos.
30-minute laning phase, and they were even with the Super Hot Crew yesterday.
Well, they're not going to go for it. Dragon is now up. I think SK certainly will go for that. Overpow did just start backing away. This is a tricky fight for SK, actually. Roccat are there in numbers. Now the teleport comes in. Overpow dashing away from this one. nRated lands the passive on towards him. Just enough to try and knock him up there. He will get the flash away. One more hit should be enough. Now just goes straight for the ultimate. nRated secures himself his first kill.
And it's going to be another tower for SK, potentially two. The middle tower went down to minions a moment or two ago, so SK are going to get the last inner turret at 20 minutes on the clock. And this is very reminiscent of an SK Gaming that could win laning phase and close the game out so decisively. It's been a very, very long time since we've seen them do that, but they're in a position to. They've got an item lead. The theoretical disadvantages that they had on paper in terms of champions have been circumnavigated because they've got a 12,000 gold lead, both of the dragons, 6 towers to 0. And Roccat are dancing to SK's beats.
Yeah, this is very much a dominant SK Gaming. Where have you been for the last few weeks? That's what the SK fans will be wondering, but right now they are looking in confident form. Remember, they finished a number of games at 25 minutes. They used to hold a lot of records here in Europe for the speedy games. They had the shortest average game time as well, but over the last few weeks that has dwindled away.
Yeah, and something that is quite showing or quite telling from Roccat is that previous engagement, Jankos sort of stuck around for a fight that they had already lost in their red buff, you know, the replay of the fight in the bottom blue buff area. And if you look at all of the magic penetration that Svenskeren has already built up, with the guys, the Sorcerer's Shoes, and obviously Spirit of the Spectral Wraith, Jankos just got melted. He's got hit points from Sightstone, no additional MR. He hasn't even bought boots yet. And Jankos simply can't stand toe-to-toe with his opposite number because in Svenskeren, rather, is just so far ahead.
Yeah, and he's been in Jankos' jungle the entire time. He has been there. He has been the man that started the fights. We saw it right early on in the start when he managed to land that cocoon on towards Jankos and force him to flash away. Freddy going to shove in that top wave. The inhibitor turrets are the next focus target. Will SK try and force Roccat to try and face check in towards this Baron area and bullying them away and sweeping out every single little bit of vision that Roccat currently hold. That is all going to disappear now as SK start choking them out. Yeah,
and I want to also highlight that not only is the Haunting guys on Sven, but Jesiz picked it up, Freddy picked it up as well. So with the very big lead they've built up, they've invested smaller portions of gold into instantaneous power. There's not even a lot of MR on Rocket's side, so they're going to be taking even more damage from all of the ability-powered spells that SK Gaming are throwing out. It's quite a smart idea to ensure that you continue to hold the lead and have the advantage in those team fights, because if Roccat pick up MR, they need to do more so to burn through that penetration that's been picked up for SK Gaming. I'd love to see how many wards SK have bought and placed this game in contrast to their last 5-game winning streak, losing streak, because every time you look at the minimap, SK have got a multitude of wards all over the jungle, and I don't recall seeing that in any of their previous games.
Interesting. Freddy pounced over the Baron bit, then quickly thought, oh, hang on a minute, we need to go back. Now they're going to go towards the Baron. Now the call's been made. They've got themselves full vision control of the jungle area. They're trying 2-man, by the way. Candy Panda coming up the mid lane. Jez is keeping them busy in there. Now we're going to see Xaxus. He's going to try and take a peek in towards this pit. He will get spotted coming around there. Does get the ward down. They can see it's a 2-man Baron, and they're not far off completing this one. nRated running interference. Gets caught out. He doesn't care about that one. He's simply blocking the rest of the team out. He's going to take all he can. Xaxus now comes around there. Baron taking very low. Xaxus going to get locked up. They peeled out of it, and instead they're going to get themselves a kill. nRated does go down, but he doesn't care. He's done enough for his team. Now Celaver trying to turn some of that damage around. He's got Freddy pouncing in towards him. Lack of mana may well stop him. Celaver taking low. Flash from Svenskeren. Not quite going to get himself the kill. The spider skitters on through, and it is just a 1-for-1. The top laner for the support. And SK, while they almost managed to sneak that Baron out, wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, so even though Roccat come out probably worse after losing their top laner for support, they did interrupt the Baron. So it was a small win. But at 12,000 gold down, Roccat need much bigger wins to pull themselves back into it. After the last time we talked about items, Xaxus has still only added a chain vest to his completed Trinity Force. And Celaver's got the makings of a Last Whisper, but nothing completed yet. So item-wise, Roccat are so far behind. Overpow is a Death Cap and a Haunting guys behind. He's got one Seeker's Arm Guard to try and counterbalance the damage from SK, but there's 3 magic damage threats from SK, so it's a very difficult position for Roccat to be in. And just another fairly controlled, fairly one-sided game on our Friday, week 10.
Radiant's Omen now pops in for Freddy as well. So he goes back down.
Just a small advantage.
It's just a small one. So he's going to wipe out that bottom wave, and SK Gaming continue to just shove every single lane. This is something they've been lacking, honestly. And a lot of teams have been lacking. Once they start baiting around that Baron, they forget, you know what, guys? We need to shove all the lanes in first before we start doing this one. Instead, they just meander around there and have a little dance. Jankos peeking off the side, shows himself, gets the vision, death sentence lands, but will not be followed up by VandeR and Jankos. Overpow, he's got to start dodging them bouncing bombs.
And over and above pushing the lanes that you were highlighting that teams need to do, this is the first time SK has been able to outclass their opponents individually. You know, the members of SK Gaming in this game have won their respective lanes, or gone even in the case of Candy Panda versus Celaver, but then once the Dragon fight came about, Candy Panda got the advantage to now accelerate ahead in CS and presence on the lane. So SK have finally found some rhythm or found some confidence where they can actually defeat their opponents one-on-one, and that is not...
SK Gaming, dominant control, Celaver caught out already, he's going to go down, oh, he just about gets away with the Valkyrie. That's not the start that he was planning after that pause. I think he was like, guys, because remember, they can't talk between any of that. I'm going to fake check this bush. That's what I'm going to do. He spent 20 minutes to decide that.
Hey, he got away with his life.
He got away with it.
20 minutes thinking about
just
his
about
strategy, maybe. But regardless, to summarize, as we said, laning phase heavily in favor of SK. 6 towers to 0. They've got a 14,000 gold lead. And all of the mistakes that SK have been making in the last few weeks, they have not made in this game. Now it's up to Roccat to dig incredibly deep to try and pull back from the deficit.
Yeah, I mean, literally, quick recap. They lost the lane phase.
Yep.
Every single one of them lost the lane phase. Big triple kill down the bottom lane. Worked out wonders for SK Gaming. Led to a little bit of a spiral out of control for Roccat, which in turn has led to multiple towers, as you can see. 6 towers to 0. Not a single tower pressured from Roccat, let alone taken. They haven't got close to touching the half of them. So Roccat really are going to have to do something special to get themselves back in this game. SK Gaming pushing on. They did try and bait out the Baron a few moments ago, but they don't have the waves pushed in. Everybody's just been back to buy. Everybody's returning to have a look, a peek around, and start regaining control of that Roccat jungle.
So remember that SK started the Baron half an hour ago. And when they started the Baron off, they pulled Roccat towards them, instantly peeled, and started to go for those kills. SK were trying to two-man Baron with Svenskeren and Freddy. Now, because of the vision that SK has around this Baron pit, they're going to continue to play the game. With the teleport and Nidalee split pushing, SK can use their numbers advantage and the gold advantage to their favor. Look at how far Freddy's pushing that wave up. He's going to have a lot of minions to play with, and the top wave is going to be pushing in favor of SK as well. So it's a strong control game coming out of SK Gaming.
Well, let's not forget, it is an 80 Nidalee these days. Candy Panda caught out. He gets bounced back, but he manages to rocket jump to safety. A lot invested in that one for Roccat. Well, this is all happening, of course, down in the bottom lane. Xaxus is trying to cut off Freddy. Freddy himself continuing to pressure, has had the dominance of that lane the entire time. Svenskeren missed the cocoon, I think, on VandeR there. Pings going off all over the map. Everybody very cautious. SK Gaming again being caught out. They're trying to wrestle control of the Roccat jungle. Roccat fighting in numbers.
Yeah, VandeR did not manage to connect with the Flay though, and SK are a little bit split up. Roccat seem to be finding opportunities.
Good belly slam.
Freddy's in trouble.
Freddy, well, he pounces away from that one. That's always the problem with the Nidalee. They're so slippery, so hard to pin down, and with that explosive cask already used by Overpow, he couldn't knock him back towards his tower.
I dare say there have been more positional mistakes in the last 2 minutes of gameplay than we've seen in the first 27 minutes. That pause may have just shaken the focus from SK Gaming, so they need to reset their minds, regain their composure, and then reapply the focus that they had from earlier in the match. And they're in a fantastic position. It does look like Candy Panda is using the range to his advantage. That Baron going off, but Baron should not be lasting much longer.
Freddy trying to run interference here. Roccat are aware of the situation. That Baron's going down very quickly, but they're in danger of having its smite stolen away. That's exactly what Jankos wants to do. You can see them trying to lock out the side there. They have themselves a pink ward in the back, and SK peel away from the Baron once again. Just a little too risky. Honestly, I don't think they need to make that play. I think they could just push the waves.
I completely agree with you, but I do want to give props to SK from peeling away from the Baron today. They didn't do it against Super Hot Crew yesterday, and that's what cost them the match. Now, whenever you see those Barons where two junglers are in the same pit, every professional jungler will tell you it is a 50-50.
It's a lotto.
Regardless of how many players you have, yes, you can increase your chances to maybe 55% if you get the burst correctly from Elise, from Nidalee, from Ziggs all at the same time. But all Jankos needs to do is just time his smite correctly, and he can steal that buff away. So SK wisely do not make a monumental error. Do not give their opponents any additional gold or any additional windows of opportunity back into the game. And SK peel from Baron. We'll see if they're going to keep playing the Baron dance, or if they want to go to the split pushing, which I think is probably the smarter option considering how farmed and how fed Freddy currently is.
Well, of course, the longer they go, the more that gold advantage that they have earned will dwindle away, because Roccat will slowly manage to claw the way back into this one. We were talking about the gigantic gulfs in items across the lanes, and they still continue to hold, as of course you can see. Looking at Jesiz versus Overpow, giant gap there, a whole 2 items ahead almost, I guess you could say. If you want to count Haunting Guys as a technically completed item into the Leandris, but it's not quite there. Still very important item nonetheless. It's definitely more than a singular
More than a blasting one,
yeah,
that's for sure.
That's for sure,
in that regard. But I mean, what has happened is some item thresholds. Xaxus, with that completed Randians, as you know, you were highlighting, with Overpow having his Hourglass completed, it's also going to give him some presence in the team fights, which is going to go a long way. But Celaver is miles away from putting down the damage that he really wants to. With a Trinity Force and the makings of an Eye Edge, Candy Panda's going to put out significantly more DPS.
Oh, Candy Panda caught out. Rocky jump once again to safety, but Jankos is on him. The AD carries down. Remember, there's no support here. Jesiz with the rubber ducky throwing in there. Jankos follows on through, but he gets quickly exhausted and locked up. Mega Inferno Bomb blasted half the hit points off Overpow. And while this is all happening, the 2 top laners continue to slug it out down this bottom lane.
So they trade 1 for 1, AD carry for jungler. It does mean if SK want to try rush the Baron, they're going to have that momentary respite from the enemy smites. But what Freddy's been doing while all of that's going on is playing the split push. And look, every time Xaxus goes aggressive, Freddy just peels away. He's not looking for the engage. He's just looking to control that half of the map. Again, SK Gaming with positional mistakes. They did not do this at the beginning of the game.
Hello.
And now, there's no explosive cast from Overpow, so this is going to need to be perfect.
He does have a big belly, and he could try and slam it, but I'm not sure he's going to get close enough. Instead, the power's going to come in. That's going to get the slowdown. Xaxus should get a stun back on him in just a moment. This is going to be a 2-man catch on towards Freddy. The Zhonya's is going to give him time to try and dash away. The power comes in, and Overpow gets the kill.
I'd like to point out that Freddy did not use his Randuin's Omen. Over the course of that run of it continually running away, Randuin's Omen is still available. Now nRated's caught.
nRated hooked up, but not sure the damage is quite there from Celaver now to break through that unbreakable shield that was thrown out. Roccat have shaken SK a little bit here coming out of this pause.
I would say SK have lost the momentum, I think. And it is unfortunate, but it is something they need to deal with. It is something they need to just shake off and get their heads back into it. They still have a theoretical, insurmountable lead. With 13,000 gold, with not giving up a single tower, and with having the great vision that SK currently do have in Rockat's jungle, they just need to get their heads back into some focus, back into some team play, and make some decisions. It does look like the counter jungling and the aggressive play is what they're looking at. Oh, Jankos is caught. He's dead.
Oh, God. Candy Panda just destroyed him. That wasn't even close. Didn't even do anything there. Now that's going to be the Baron. Absolutely.
Yeah. Freddy teleported in for that one. No smite. And even if Roccat come to challenge without smite and the burst that can come down, I think SK Gaming should have this one relatively safely. Let's see how committed Roccat are for the fight. Because Overpow got his full combo. He's going in.
Yeah, but there's a Guardian Angel on Freddy. There's no smite available. It's going to be an explosive cast. It's going to try and steal it. Not going to happen. There's Svenskeren with the smite. Now they're going to focus on towards Roccat. They're chasing him down. Freddy wants to pounce towards him. Overpow getting locked up. He gets stunned down. He will drop. Zonya's Hourglass is not going to save him. VandeR's going to get dropped, taken down. Freddy will pick up that kill. Jesiz takes it down. Overpow And now Roccat, after a valiant defense there, look to be tumbling away from this game.
Yeah, they managed to find some opportunities to punish SK being out of position, but truthfully, it's far too little and it's far too late. Now SK Gaming with the Baron buff, now they will finally feel confident in sieging. You could argue they could have done this much earlier with the Ziggs, with the Nidalee, and with
a Tristana,
very well
with a very long-range Tristana.
Level 17 Tristana, I mean, the short-range Corki, the melee champions of Lucian and irelia, Candy was never really going to be a threat of being jumped on unless he's out of position.
Well, with a 5-game losing streak, they want to make sure they play this one very, very cautiously. They're not going to try and rush and finish the game, despite the fact there was only 3 members defending. They are going to push up and try and take down this second inhibitor turret, the side one. Now they push in. Roccat out of position. They've got 2 members on the left-hand side. This tower's gone before they even get close. Now Xaxus, he's in all sorts of trouble. He has to run away. Mega Photo Bomb comes in, and Jesiz picks up another kill.
Now Jankos is coming in from behind. This is the last-ditch effort if ever I've seen one, and SK, they're looking to finish.
They're trying to get on towards Celaver on that fountain. Has to get caught out. Oh, Ignite, not quite enough. Fountain heal will get on towards him. Nexus turrets will fall. SK Gaming will break their voodoo magic, and they will clear out the 5-game losing streak. SK Gaming take down Roccat with a confident performance after everything that has happened.
Deserved victory. Roccat simply did not show up this game. They had a team comp that you could argue had the possibility of having a nice mid-game power spike, but they never got there. And look at the joy. Jesiz is jumping up and down. I believe Freddy's happy. I believe it. That's on the inside.
You know, I think this win has come at the perfect time for SK Gaming. Super Week looms. They've broken their losing streak. They can now go in fresh-faced, clear that out of their mind in Super Week, and maybe, just maybe, make a charge for the top half of the table. Currently, they do lie in 5th place now, secure. Do find themselves safe in the playoffs as well. Roccat, of course, still in danger of being chased down by the Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, the thing with this particular match from SK, and again, I want to go back to something we said a while ago. If you step back and you look at Rockat's performances in their 2 games this weekend and SK's performances in their 2 games, SK pushed Super Haku very hard. They were even for a long time. It was a bad Baron call that cost SK the game.
Yeah.
They didn't make that mistake now. They smashed